Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. And Jennifer is back with me after we have both visited our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And we are here, and we have missed you guys together. But, Jen, we have a bang up show. Oh my
Oh God,
gosh.
do we ever?
Yeah.
And tipping points is one of my favorite topics to discuss in climate change anyway. It's just endlessly interesting. And there has been a new paper that's just come out, right, Sandy? These
Yes.
500 pages,
Oh,
200
yeah.
researchers, all about tipping points.
Yep. But we're doing something a little different tonight. We have,
Oh,
yeah, we're not actually going to bring you all the science of the report because we talk about all of this science all year. We are giving you a little bit of a different view of how it comes to be and how this report has correlated with COP28. It's quite interesting, Jen, isn't it?
it
Yeah,
is. It's very
yeah.
interesting.
Uh-huh. And we have a presentation and we have an intermission. And Jen, do you want to do the little bit of the overview and
Sure.
then I'll say hi to everybody and we'll get
Yeah.
started.
All
Yeah.
right.
All right.
So, guys, want to tell you a little bit about where we're going. So, the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research has just put out a fabulous pivotal paper, 500 pages, 200 researchers. It's called Global Tipping Points Report Delivers Comprehensive Assessment of Tipping Point Risks and Societal Opportunities. And we're going to go into it a little bit in the narrative summary for global tipping points. It's a very big paper and nicely organized that you can go through online. We're also going to talk about the people behind it. So there is an organization that I actually hadn't heard of before, the Bezos, as in Jeff Bezos,
Uh-huh.
Earth Fund. And I didn't
Yes.
know anything about the Bezos Earth
Oh,
Fund, but
yes.
good for him. And
Yes.
we're going to see the pictures of the people who are behind it: Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez, and Andrew Steer. We're going to talk a little bit about Andrew Steer. We're going to talk a little bit about Arun Manjumdar, and he's also in the organization.
Yep.
And then we're going to go over to Stanford University talking about Understand Energy Learning Hub.
Yeah.
And they have a YouTube channel with 283 videos, each an hour long. So you can do that in your spare time, almost 300 hours of listening and watching pleasure.
If you call
And
it
then
pleasure.
pleasure, it's
Pleasure.
pleasure. It's all
Pleasure.
about pleasure. And then we're going to go over to our old fave, phys.org. We're going to talk about climate tipping points are nearer than you think. A new report warns of catastrophic risk. And then talk about the melting fire ice. The study finds that climate change can cause methane to be released from the deep ocean. And this one is pretty darn scary. Take
We
in the latest from the Arctic news.
Yay!
Will temperatures keep rising fast? The answer is yes, they will.
Sure, we're giving Sam Carana an applause ahead of
Of
time.
course. Of course.
Yeah, so it's we got a good thing going. So we're going to get started with our presentation and give me a minute to get it going. Alrighty, guys. You know it always takes me just a minute to get this shit going. It usually does. But in the meantime, we glad you're here. And what I did not do is just say hello really quickly to a few. Looney Tunes, thank you for moderating. Kim, thank you for moderating. Hi, Scott, thank you for moderating. I'm just trying to check out who's here. And there's so many wonderful people. Mila, I've clipped your your question for later. We didn't plan on doing, all right, I'll go over it really quickly. Mila asked if we were going to plan to report on the call for ramping up nuclear power to address the climate. Not
Oh.
tonight, but when we do, Antonio's going to be on the show. We're going to do a post-mortem, and that's where we'll be discussing that whole topic. Okay, Mila? So I wanted to address that first. Okay. But stick around, don't leave because we're not necessarily doing that one. And that's a pretty big one. And we can't, you know. All right, guys. Jim, it's really, really great to have you here. And let's get going. So, what we're showing you here is the Global Tipping Points report. And I am, we're just basically going through. I have to shut off your comments, guys, for a while. All right. So, Tipping Points report. And it was led by Tim Lenton. And I know that all of us, Jennifer, we know all these names, correct? Yes. Tim Lenton, and I'm not going to read all of the names, but basically, this is the report, and it's interestingly that it comes out the same time COP28. So it's like, okay, this is the dictate. This is the academic dictate. Everybody has to get their shit together and look
Mhm.
at these things. The Earth tipping points, the tipping point impacts, the governance of Earth system tipping points, the positive tipping points in technology, economy, and society. However, like I said earlier, we're going to go down and we are definitely going to show you that there's people funding these things and all these efforts. And particularly, we decided to do the Bezos Earth Fund. All right.
Mhm.
So Jennifer's going to take off, and the thing we're going to read tonight is basically the narrative summary. That'll give you the
Mhm.
idea. The link will be in the show notes for the report, so you guys can definitely get it for yourselves because it's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
For
So
us,
let's
it's
dive
review.
on in.
Yeah,
Let's dive on into
dive
global
on
tipping
in.
points, the narrative summary. Harmful tipping points in the natural world pose some of the gravest threats faced by humanity.
Yeah.
Their triggering will severely damage our planet's life support systems and threaten the stability of our societies. Net,
Mm.
net.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the collapse of the Atlantic Ocean's great overturning circulation combined with global warming could cause half of the global area for growing wheat and maize to be lost.
Oof.
5 major tipping points are already at risk of being crossed due to the warming right now, and 3 more are threatened in the 2030s as the world exceeds 1.5 degrees C global warming. The full damage caused
God.
by negative tipping points will be far greater than their initial impact. The effect will cascade through globalized social and economic systems and could exceed the ability of some countries to adapt. Negative tipping points show that the threat posed by climate and ecological crisis is far more severe than is commonly understood and is of a magnitude never before faced by humanity. Holy
Mm-hmm.
cow, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's like huge.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, there is no adequate global governance at the scale of the threats posed by
Right.
negative tipping points.
Nope.
The world is on a disastrous trajectory. Wow.
Yeah. This is not fear porn. This is real science.
Is a science talking like this?
Yeah.
Crossing, yes, indeed. Crossing one harmful tipping point could trigger others, causing a domino effect of accelerating an unmanageable change to our life support systems. Preventing this and doing so equitably should become the core goal and logic of a new
Yep.
global governance framework. Prevention is only possible if societies and economic systems are transformed to rapidly reduce emissions and restore nature. The
Wow.
current approach of linear incremental change, favored by many decision makers, is no longer an option. Existing governance, institutions, and decision making approaches need to adapt to facilitate transformational change. Crucial to achieving this transformational change are positive tipping point opportunities
Mm.
where desirable changes in society become self propelling. Concerted actions can create the enabling conditions for triggering rapid and large scale transformation. Human history is flush with examples of abrupt social and technological change. Recent examples include exponential increases in renewable energy, the global reach of environmental justice movements, and the accelerating rollout of electric vehicles. Negative tipping point threats could be mitigated if there was a vast effort to trigger other positive
Positive,
tipping point
which it's
opportunities.
a tough sell.
Yes, tough sell. Unfortunately, in the time lag during which appropriate governance and action might be realized, negative tipping points could still be triggered. This means that societies must urgently be made more resilient to minimize the
Hmm.
vast and unequal harms. Critically, more resilient societies are also needed to ensure that collective focus on triggering positive tipping point opportunities can be sustained even through
Okay,
negative tipping event.
I get
This
it.
resi- this resiliency can be triggered and can be achieved with no regrets, actions that anyway make societies more sustainable, equitable, and prosperous. The existence of tipping points means that business as usual is now over. Rapid changes to nature and society are occurring, and more are coming. If we don't revise our governance approach, these changes could overwhelm societies as the natural world
Mm.
rapidly comes apart. Alternatively, with emergency global action and appropriate governance, collective interventions could harness the power of positive tipping point opportunities, helping navigate towards a thriving, sustainable future.
And those
Now,
positive things, Jennifer, are are things that we can do locally, local
right.
activism and change, and it doesn't necessarily have to be buying into the corporate models of change. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Mhm.
But this is what, and so they go back and they give you the governance, how it could be governed. And then here's the whole positive tipping points.
Mhm.
And they're talking about, of course, the companies that are going to do these things because it's happening no matter what we
That's
say.
right.
It's going to happen. And why not? I mean, I'm looking at everything now saying we have nothing to lose. We
Nothing to
have no, as
lose.
long as we don't have any expectations at the end, right, Jen? Ugh,
Yeah, it's a bitter pill. It's
yeah.
tough. And the thing is, this global tipping points paper,
Mm-hmm.
500 pages long,
Yeah.
is not fear porn. This is
No.
true hard science. And it reads like the stuff we used to read and think, "Oh yeah, this is fear porn." It's not. It's the
No.
way it is.
Nope.
Yeah.
I do like their governance of Earth systems. You know, I like the way they laid this out, but I tell you, you guys, we'd be on for hours. So what we are doing is going to give you the link because really it's worth watching. But tonight we want to go into a little different than the science. We're going to show you the funding, and we chose the Bezos Earth Fund. Okay. They have a lot of money. And it seems that philanthropy is big in this endeavor. And of course it is.
Mhm.
But yet the Bezos Earth Fund is not a fossil fuel industry fund. I don't think I found anything on it. So this is their website, and they were established as the largest philanthropic commitment ever to fight climate
Wow.
change and protect nature. The 10 billion grant commitment, it's funny money. 10 billion grant commitment will be dispersed by 2030, the date by which the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals must be achieved. We aim to harness the best of human ingenuity, adaptability, and collective action to create a future in which everyone can thrive. Okay, hope, I mean, it's a hopeful message they have. And they invest in big ideas. But we're going to show you, instead of exactly what they do from their website, we're going to show you who they are. So I want to say one thing. This Earth Pledge, this $100 million for the Loss and Damage Fund, if you could see that there. Let me see if it opens. Explore more. Okay, so Bezos Earth Fund pledged $100 million to support Pacific Island initiatives to create the largest conservation effort ever. So it's kind of like the United States gave about 17 million to the land fund, Jennifer. I mean, so this fund is 100 million instead of 17 million. So it's just interesting. The guy has a lot of money, Jeff
Hmm.
Bezos.
At
And
least he's
whether,
doing something with it that's worthy, you know?
well, it looks like it. It does look
Looks
like it.
like it. Does look like
Okay,
it.
so let's look at the principles, guys. How you doing out there? All right. So I don't know where everybody is. It's Friday night, but you're with us and we're happy. So this dude, Andrew Steer, uh, and we want to give you a flavor because it's a very corporate flavor. This is the corporate fundraising, the corporate end of things. So
Hmm.
and you'll see him. He's the president. He joined them from the World Resources Institute, where he served as president and CEO for over 8 years. And of course, we've read their stuff. We've seen them. They're online. Prior to this, he served as the World Bank special envoy for climate change, that for 2 years. So that must have been some job. The World Bank special envoy, but he did it for 2 years. But then from 2017 to 10, he served as general director at UK Department of Internal Development. But this followed 10 years in East Asia, where he was head of the World Bank in Vietnam and Indonesia. Interesting, huh? The money guy.
Hmm.
Dr. Steer
Hmm.
is a global agenda trustee for the World Economic Forum, a commissioner of the Energy Transitions Commission, a member of the China Council for International Cooperation on Environment and Development, co chair of the Greening and Belt and Road Coalition. So that's making it, it's still go ahead, but they'll green it, if you get what I
Hmm.
mean. Uh, and a board member of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. He is also a member of the advisory committees of the Asian Development Bank, and he's on the leadership Council of Concordia. He was educated at St. Andrews, and then he went to the University of Pennsylvania, same school as Michael Mann, isn't it? Or is that Pennsylvania? Does it have a different name? Uh,
I don't
I don't
know.
know. Cambridge University. He has PhD in international economics and finance, and he is married to Dr. Elizabeth Steer, and he is the father of Charlotte and Benjamin. So there's the business guy. Okay, there are a
Hmm.
lot of them, but so I thought he was an interesting highlight. And I'm
Hmm.
I'm not going to play, but you can find out about Andrew. And here's Andrew's news. Jennifer and Sandy's news, and here's Andrew's news.
There you
Only
go.
we don't have ours written up yet. We need a writer. Okay, and then we are going to move on to Lauren. Let's talk about Lauren, Jen.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
What a babe.
what a babe. Well, here's the spice of the whole thing. But
Yeah.
kind of, but she's doing something good. She's not working in the fossil fuel industry. She is actually she's accomplished. She's an Emmy award winning journalist. and former news anchor. Following a successful news career, Sanchez, a licensed pilot, founded Black Ops Aviation in 2016. It's the first female owned and operated aerial film and production company with a focus across television and film. That's an unusual company. Yes, it's fossil fuel intensive. But there's a whole industry. Do we all watch the movies, guys? I mean, seriously, do we watch the movies? And don't lie, you do. So she and she it was she's a woman entrepreneur. So we might kid about the babe, but she's accomplished, and she serves as the vice chair of the Bezos Earth Fund, and she's dedicated to fighting climate change and the protection of nature, as well as early childhood education, programming, and housing support. She works with organizations including This Is About Humanity, an organization dedicated to raising awareness and providing support for separated and reunited families at the U.S.-Mexico border. In the Bezos Day One Fund, which encompasses shelter, hunger, and tuition-free preschool education support for underserved communities via the Day One Families Fund and Day One Academies Fund, among others. Now, think about it, Jen. Okay? So think about if we had, because we are do-gooder kind of people. We are passionate about what we do. Can you imagine having those resources at your fingertip to do good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Maybe these people can, give us a softer landing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, because we all know we're not going to
I
go
don't
there.
think they're going to save
No,
the earth, but
but
maybe it won't
they're
be such a
working
crash landing as,
right. Right, with these small things. But the small things for them are $50 million in grants for protection and sustainable development of Brazilian Amazon. So are they working with Lulu? We would hope so, right? The president of Brazil. So you would think that maybe little things could happen because of these people who have so much money, so much obscenely earned money, because of the system that'll actually allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
The uber capitalism. So after we do this, did we do the presentation yet? No, we're doing these guys first. Did we forget that? Because we haven't been together in a while. We didn't do the presentation, did we?
No.
Nope, we're going to do that next. So
Yeah.
we're going to show you this guy. Sorry, guys. Really, seriously, me and Jen haven't been together in 2 weeks, so we're just we're getting our, what is it, Stella got her groove? We're getting our groove back, guys.
There you
We're
go.
here. So this guy, Aaron Majumdar, I think that's how you pronounce it, Majumdar. He is with the J. Precourt Provincial Chair, Professor. This is what he is, the provost. He's the provost at the Stanford University, at senior fellow and former director of the Precourt Institute for Energy, which we're going to look at. So we're going to take you down one little rabbit hole of the Bezos Fund. He served in the Obama administration as the founding director of the Advanced Research Projects Agency, Energy. These are the people that talk about energy, guys. And he acting under Secretary of Energy. He served as a science envoy for the U.S. Department of State, and he currently serves as the chair of the U.S. Secretary of Energy Advisory Board. So he is one of the guys, and his association with Stanford, that has the ear of the presidential administration in the United States. Of that, I'm sure. They talk to people, right? They have. Well, he's probably one of those guys. So he was also the vice president for energy at Google. Boy, he's been
Okay.
everywhere, and advises numerous businesses in the energy innovation ecosystem. I love how they use ecosystem for everything now. Everything. And when I was in business, nobody would say, well, it's the ecosystem of human resources. But it is interesting. He is a member of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, U.S. National Academy of Engineering, and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He received his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology in Bombay in 85 and his PhD from the University of California in Berkeley in 1989. So cool for him. But what we are going to show you is that energy sector. This is from Stanford. This is one of their sponsored, well, it's a sponsored program. They're probably funded by the Bezos Earth Fund. Probably that's private money, foundation money. I don't know if they get any kind of federal funds for the work they do, but this was my business. So here's their this is their mantra: sustainable, affordable, secure energy for all. That's a tough one too, but they're going to do it. Like I always say, these are the people that are doing the things, and it's all concurrent with COP. So to help realize the vision of sustainable, affordable, secure energy for all, if that's even possible, Stanford's Precourt Institute for Energy seeks to develop at Stanford and beyond the creativity, collaboration, learning, and the leadership needed for the global energy transformation. As part of the new Stanford Doerr School of Sustainability, the Precourt Institute plays a key role in connecting the school with Stanford's other 6 interdisciplinary research and education. So that's big university. And they have a website with lots of different kinds of things. If you guys are interested in what Stanford University is doing, that's what I'm going to show you. Now, next, we're going to do our presentation now. So how you guys doing out there? I think you're ready for it. We have a cute one, but let's go all the way back to the beginning. You ready, Jen?
I'm ready.
She's ready. All right.
Let's
So
go.
we're going to start with just a little entertainment, and you can read this, and we'll entertain you.
Did you touch the thermostat? Did you turn it up?
Oops.
Did you touch the thermostat? Did you turn it up?
Well, of course not. Did somebody fiddle with the thermostat?
It's 85 degrees.
85? Do you have any idea how much even a few degrees can impact the gas bill?
Of course I do. It's unthinkable.
Dad? Kurt, what's going on in here? Why is it so hot? Someone fiddled with the thermostat. What? Who would do that?
What do you think you're doing?
It's roasting in here.
I like to sleep with my window open.
Hey, kid. Are you allowed to touch the thermostat at your mom's house?
Duh.
Duh.
What is going on?
Adriana, she turned up the thermostat.
Said she fiddles with the thermostat at your place anytime she damn well pleases.
Dusty, is that true? Tell me that's not true. Oh, criminy, Dusty, you might as well give her your wallet and your 401k while you're at it.
Do you let the kids touch the thermostat at your house?
What? No. The thermostat is a sacred covenant. I can't believe we're even talking about this. This is madness.
Well, I thought I'd start out with something silly, and we did. But I did pair it with the Peter Carter's catastrophic change looms as Earth nears climate tipping points, report says. And they are talking about thermostats. So do you want to move on to George? You want to tell everybody about our guy, and I'll read it? How we
No,
know
you
George.
go ahead. You
All
go
right.
ahead and read it. I
we've
don't
in-
know what
no,
you're
I'll
talking
read
about.
it. I'll read it. George Saccharlitis.
Oh, okay.
We've interviewed him. Well, it's kind of like X Twitter night. We're going to share some of our friends. And George, his piece was, he said it's a giant overflowing toilet of BS. It gets the flush of the day. There is now widespread denial of science, data, and reality. Denial that we have already crossed many tipping points of no return. They all wait first to fall off the cliff before they can call a cliff a cliff. Thank you, George. He's in the UK. He's from Greece, but he's from the UK. And we're going to give you a little activism.
Climate activists protested outside COP28 in Dubai on Tuesday. This year's summit has been controversial in part because its president, Sultan Al Jaber, is the head of the UAE National Oil Company. He's also made a point of including oil and gas companies in the talks.
It is disappointing that the COP28 is being held in UAE.
Zimbabwean activist Lorraine Chiponda said COP28 had been captured by fossil fuel corporations.
That's why we're seeing a lot of greenwashing around the phase out and a hesitation to clearly put text that phases out all fossil fuels. So it was a bad decision to host COP here.
ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods is also in Dubai, marking the first time a chief executive of the oil giant has attended COP. His company declined to comment after former US Vice President Al Gore dismissed Woods as someone who prioritizes protecting his profits over the survival of the human civilization. But Woods' presence is a sign of how the fossil fuel industry is trying to cast itself as part of the solution to climate change. Research released on Tuesday, however, showed that global carbon dioxide emissions from burning fossil fuels are set to hit a record high this year. Scientists and activists fear that efforts to combat climate change are not enough to avert its worst impacts.
If you look at all the regions where there are fossil fuels in Africa, the host communities are suffering from the impacts of their projects. So I'm here to demand that our leaders put an end to the fossil fuel era and to transition the world towards renewable energy.
Countries at COP28 are considering calling for a formal phase-out of fossil fuels, according to a draft negotiating text. That's likely to spark a heated debate. But if adopted, it would be the first global deal to end the oil age. On the COP28 main stage, however, the CEOs of several major energy companies have been arguing in favor of oil and gas. They're backed up by an army of lobbyists. At least 2,400 of them registered for this year's summit. An analysis of UN registration data published by Kick Big Polluters Out has shown. That outnumbers the delegates from the 10 most climate-vulnerable countries combined.
I thought that was pretty good, actually. The kids,
Yeah.
the activists, and of course they would be there. But there were some good points made in that one. So I found a new comic today, and I'm going to put a link about him to his Twitter page and maybe his website. He's pretty good. Green humor. As UAE's national animal, I, the Arabian oryx, am here to remind governments, funders, and stakeholders that you, too, are biodiversity. And they're all sitting around. There he is. We are all biodiversity. And so everything that affects them affects us. And people forget that, right, Jennifer?
Yeah.
They
that's
forget.
right.
They forget. They think, oh, well, we're insulated. And then they forget about animals. But we are an animal. We are going just where they are.
A potential climate change breakthrough this morning. At the UN's
this
annual
is for
summit
you, Jen.
in Dubai, the Biden administration announced new rules to limit methane gas emissions in the U.S. And this morning, a coalition of major oil and gas companies has agreed to cut their methane emissions by 80 to 90% by the end of the decade. One expert calls it the biggest thing that will reduce temperatures on the planet in decades. Senior national and environmental correspondent Ben Tracy explains why methane is such a problem and shows us a powerful new tool designed to hold these companies accountable.
Inside a hangar in Boulder, Colorado, this appears to be just another fancy private jet.
You can always pull these graphs up.
But it's
I
actually
can't make
filled
it
with
louder.
scientists on a mission to help save the planet. They take to the skies to hunt down an invisible gas, seen here with infrared cameras, which is rapidly heating up the atmosphere and fueling some of the worst impacts of climate change. What exactly is methane?
Methane is a greenhouse gas. It is the second largest contributor to climate change, and it accounts for more than a quarter of the warming that we're experiencing today.
Alyssa Acco is a senior climate scientist at the Environmental Defense Fund. She says methane emissions mainly come from leaks during fossil fuel production, from the digestive tracts of cows when they burp, and from rotting food in landfills. And here's why it matters. Methane is like carbon dioxide on steroids, 84 times more powerful at warming the planet. But unlike CO2, which can stay in the atmosphere for centuries, methane only lasts for about a decade.
Reducing methane emissions is the single fastest opportunity we have to slow down the rate of warming.
If we're able to cut these methane emissions, what impact would that have on warming?
We have the technologies available to cut methane emissions globally in half over the next 10 years. And if we do that, then we can slow down the rate of global warming by 30%.
Slowing warming could mean fewer destructive storms, wildfires, and heat waves, and slower melting of the world's ice sheets, which is causing sea levels to rise.
We need to know how much methane is being emitted, from where, and by whom.
So you actually detect the methane through the bottom of the plane?
Yeah, that's correct.
And that's where the plane comes in.
Up front is actually methane air itself. And if you look up, you can actually see two lenses.
The scientists call it methane air. They've been flying it over what's known as the Permian Basin, more than 86,000 square miles in Texas, the largest oil field on the planet. Special sensors on the plane detect methane leaks from oil and gas facilities on the ground. According to the EDF, those industries account for about a quarter of all human-made methane emissions, and knowing where the leaks are can help in identifying the polluters and holding them responsible. A new $90 million satellite called Methane Sat is being built by the Environmental Defense Fund, in part with money from Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' Earth Fund. They plan to launch it next year atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Once in orbit, it will find and map methane leaks around the world 24 hours a day.
This is the structure.
Steve Stegg is CEO of Blue Canyon Technologies, which is building the satellite, including the solar panels that will act as its wings to power its flight.
And so what we're seeing here, this is pretty much as big as it is, and then the solar arrays come out from there.
That's exactly right. This is the size of it. The solar arrays will extend out about 10 to 12 feet on each side of the satellite.
So this will absolutely be a game changer.
Reducing planet warming emissions has been Alyssa Acco's life work since a trip to Greenland during college.
I watched as ice was melting off of glaciers and just rushing out into the ocean.
And she now has another, more personal reason to work even harder, a 4-year-old daughter.
And it really worries me what the climate will be like when she's my age. I look at my daughter every day and I just want the best for her. And a huge part of that is the world that we're leaving behind.
A world we still have a chance to save. For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Ben Tracy, Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that, but that's what the mainstream media reports are like, basically, telling everybody that keep trying, working, doing. But then we read James Hansen. A miracle will occur is not sensible climate policy. The COP28 chairman and United Nations Secretary General say that the goal to keep warming below 1.5 C is alive, albeit barely, implying that the looser goal of the 2015 Paris Agreement to keep warming well below 2 C is still viable. We find that even the 2 C goal is dead if policy is limited to emission reductions and plausible CO2 removal. IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which advises the UN, has understated global warming in the pipeline and underestimated fossil fuel emissions in the pipeline via lack of realism in the integrated assessment models that the IPCC uses for the climate projections. Wishful thinking as policy approach must be replaced by transparent climate analysis, knowledge of the forcings that drive climate change, and realistic assessment of the policy options. The next several years provide a narrow window of time to define actions that could still achieve a bright future for today's young people. We owe young people the knowledge and the tools to continually assess the situation and devise and adjust the course of action. You like that, Jen?
Yeah, absolutely.
He is tough. He's tough, but he has a granddaughter. I know why he's the way he feels. Now this one's loud.
Hi, my name is Rosanna Endre and I work for Greenpeace in Sweden. And my climate resolution is to continue to fight for the climate and the future. I will continue to be an activist to board oil rigs in the Arctic if needed. And I dare the AP funds in Sweden to do what is right for the climate. They should not continue to invest money into the dirty fossil industry anymore. So I dare you to stop.
Yeah, Greenpeace.
Awesome.
She climbs ships. Yeah, they're pretty. Yeah. Now we don't have time. You know, I've always covered when I've covered COP. I always cover them, and I call them the capitalists. But they have some pretty good material. They do. Now this one, this is a sobering one. Professor Hans Joachim Schellenhuber, Director Emeritus and founder of the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, and it's emeritus. I always say it wrong, Jennifer. Laughed at me today. Believes if we go much above 2C, we will quickly get to 4C anyway because of the tipping points and feedbacks. It'll spell the end of human civilization. So I'm going to read that again. This guy, important man, believes if we go above 2C, we will quickly get to 4C anyway because of the tipping points and feedbacks, which would spell the end of human civilization. This is a very big risk that will just end our civilization. Holy shit, Ski.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Holy shit. Is that a holy shit moment, guys? Do I even have here's a holy shit explosion. Boom. All right. Now we are going to move from that sobering note to the Arctic for Jennifer to talk about this sobering note.
Right? So this is our moving into winter Arctic sea ice graphic, and it plots basically over multiple decades, October, November, December, and January, moving into winter, watching the Arctic sea ice grow. It's very obvious that, well, 2023 is kind of keeping in trend. The Arctic sea ice is growing. But overall, decade over decade, you can see that Arctic sea ice is less quickly to grow as time goes on. This is not remarkably different from the previous years. You know, it's keeping in track with them, but it's within the trend. You know, as time goes on, the Arctic sea ice grows less quickly, I guess.
And then at the top, of course, it gives you the sea ice extent, and it's the third lowest on record. So this is Zach Labe, and Jennifer will move on to Antarctic.
Yeah. Now this one, a lot different than the previous graphs. So this is a full year, decade over decade. And you can see, of course, 2023, we are here now. And we are here at the end of 2023. But the Antarctic sea ice anomalies are, 2023 in this case is definitely not like the other years.
Like the others.
It's not like the other ones,
No.
right? This line is not like the other ones. And remarkably so, you know, it's more than 2 standard deviations out of the trend. And, so that's where we are now. And of course, guys, keep in mind, Antarctica has, I would say 220 feet of sea level rise wrapped up in that continent.
Yeah.
So Antarctica is starting to get soft,
And didn't another piece just break off? It wasn't the one with the
I saw
A.
something about another big glacier breaking off in Antarctica.
Yep. It's and my joke was they should make villages like they have in Florida and put all the retirees floating around on icebergs.
Yeah.
I mean, put them to use, right? All right. Well, that was our little update, and many countries, and this is Bill McGuire. Many countries are coalescing around the goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050, not for any solid scientific research, but because it is a nice round number and far enough away to justify inaction in the near term. The global average temperature rise is predicted to climb prematurely above 1.5 C and by between 2026 and 2042, with a central estimate of 2032, while business as usual will see the 2C breach by 2050 or very soon after. This means by that mid-century, a number of tipping points may already have tipped, ensuring a major transformation of our world, from which there is no return. Neither rapid cuts in atmosphere in emissions nor the direct removal of carbon from the atmosphere will turn back the clock. Oh my God.
Right. And a good thing to remember about tipping points, once a point has tipped, it's tipped, and you cannot untip it.
Nope. Oh my goodness. Very dry in my house, guys. Oh, no, you can't untip it. Even even with the geoengineering that's going to end up coming up. And this is Bill. Look at CO2 pathway for 1.5 and tell me that staying this side of 1.5 is still practically possible. You'd have to live in cloud cuckoo land to think so. So Jennifer,
cloud cuckoo land.
So what are we looking at here? The historical.
Well, it looks like we're looking at what's the measurement? CO2. These are CO2 pathways. So you can see everything is going straight up. It really is. And this is from before 1900. So looks like possibly even from 1870 or so to the present day. And they are dreaming. They must be smoking some kind of crack. Seriously,
oh my
God. To think that any of these three pathways is ever going to happen, because it's not. It's just not. It's sad to see that people think that this is going to happen, but
so it's not the word sustainable. It's really adapting, and we are all understanding of that. And then there's Greta, who says leaving capitalist consumerism and market economics as the dominant stewards of the day, of the only known civilization in the universe, will most likely seem, in retrospect, to have been a terrible idea.
Well,
God, leave it to her. Well, yeah, because this is who's taking it over. It's not governments, really. I mean, the United States is, they're saying things, but, they're not really putting we're drilling more. The United States has drilled more this past year than it had in a long time. So there's no hiding that. We're drilling because we're supplying, military fuel and whatever. So, this one. Yeah, this was the Elliott. Oh, we have to talk about it. Our friend Elliott Jacobson, after a massive yearly gain of 2.99 ppm in the latest CO2 reading from NOAA, net zero has become a comedy punchline at COP28. A climate scientist walked into a bar. And Jennifer, tell us what we're looking at.
Well, we're looking at the unrelenting march of CO2 from the Mauna Loa Observatory, where they get the best CO2 measurements, and then that's the red with the seasonal, and then the black line with it all kind of averaged out, and you can see it's unrelenting. It's going up. It's going up at a very steady pace, and regardless of whether, I know the US CO2 emissions have gone down, China certainly hasn't.
No. No.
And the CO2 worldwide just keeps going up and up and up and up, and it's unrelenting and steady, as you can see.
Like my thirst from a dry house. Oh my God. I'm going through water like it's water. All right. Now we have a little cartoon. Thank you, Jennifer, for that. UAE at COP28, historic loss and damage fund. And they are fighting. More oil deals, denial of climate science. And we all heard that. But I'm moving to Mia, a woman I really, really, really like. And she's talking about the dollars and cents, what's needed, and it's a quickie. But she says it's the United States pledge. Well, she didn't say that this is true. The United States pledge of $17.5 million, which will have to get approval from Congress, is frankly pathetic and amounts to an insult given the scale of losses and damage being experienced around the world. But the thing is, so the Bezos fund is giving $100 million towards this area for mitigation and for other programs, yet the United States is so busy financing. Well, you know what? I mean, we could go all political about all these militaristic. That's what the jobs bill. If you fund the military, you are funding American jobs. All right, let's hear Mia. I like her. She is the Prime Minister of Barbados, and she's just very bright. People love her in the comment section.
We believe, for example, that the capitalization of the Loss and Damage Fund is critical because it provides essential grant funds post-disaster, and that is absolutely necessary. But the scale of its capitalization will be a concern to all if it is not properly capitalized. And that's why we feel that a mechanism that allows both for capitalizing the loss and damage, but increasing what is available to you with the Resilience Sustainability Trust and what is available to development banks for resilience funding is equally critical. We've been talking about public money, which has to continue. We've been talking, however, also about mechanisms for non-state actors contributing. We're talking all over the place, and we haven't settled on how best this can work to avoid the greenwashing and to avoid implosion.
She's cool. I do like her. Good. And she says what they need. This is what we need. This is what we ask for. And they are a small island nation, but there's a lot of them, and help is needed to keep them, at least if they can't stay on where they are. People are going to have to migrate. I don't know, the answer, but she knows what's happening. Yeah. All right. So this is the pièce de résistance of this presentation, because we're going to launch right into some hard science articles. We're going to talk about the methane. Well, Jennifer is, and me too, actually, tipping points. But this one, the climate feedback loop interactions could accelerate warming, which we do know. And I'm just going to go over these very briefly. New research shows how different parts of the climate system may affect each other to push global warming beyond current projections. Some of the amplifying feedback loops identified in the new paper include sea ice melting or not forming, decreasing snow cover, increased permafrost thawing, insect outbreaks, forest dieback, desert desertification, changing cloud patterns, increasing wildfire frequency, drying, burning peatlands. And I could go on. You guys will find this in the links. These are all things that could be one entire show for us. In fact, this Jennifer, this could be our template for the coming year. This whole
It could.
thing.
I mean,
I know.
this whole thing, we could make shows about this for the next year coming up for
Yeah,
sure.
because all of this is happening. I mean, the permafrost releasing greenhouse gases. How long have we been talking about that, Jen?
5, 6 years.
Yeah, years. And now it's in the forefront, and these things are happening. So here's our blueprint, guys. All right, we're going to move on. We're going back to the other material, but we have a movie. So we're gonna take intermission time, and we're gonna show you this. All right, it's good time to stretch and watch, and we will be back. Okay.
Look at the map here. See all these green rectangles? That's money. And they're all floating around. Where are they going? Into D.C. Right there into D.C.
Cars were very common at the turn of the century. And then, some specific, inventions like, you had to, when the first gas cars were around, you had to crank them by hand to start them, and at that point electric cars were competing very well against them. And then the carburetor was invented, and the electric start was invented, and then that was it for electric cars. Once you had electric start for gasoline cars, then turn a key and it starts. You don't have to hand crank. Then it just took off because it was the best technology at the time, and they didn't realize or ignored that. When I say they didn't realize, the world basically didn't realize how much it would screw up the planet. And, it was only a few people, a few scientists that said, hey, this is going to be a problem, putting CO2 up in the atmosphere, right? So, and nobody listened to it.
So first of all, blaming the producers of oil and gas for climate change is like blaming farmers for obesity. It's our societal consumption that is the issue. Now, we will still need oil and gas throughout the transition, and there is no scenario, even the most ambitious scenario, that does not include that. Gas to back up intermittent renewables, and oil makes so much of what the transition will rely upon, from solar panels to wind turbines to the electric cars themselves, from the roads they drive on to the tires to the interiors. We will still need it. So with all respect for that viewpoint, perhaps you should start with the UN itself. Maybe he should have traveled here in a wooden boat with sails, rowing when the wind died down. Maybe he should move the UN staff to upstate New York, to a forest somewhere where they can grow their own food without fertilizers. He has to take away all their smartphones. They can't use email. They can use maybe carrier pigeon for UN communications. I mean, I'm just making the point how much the world still requires oil and gas. We need to produce it cleaner, absolutely, and we can. And the commitments here are a big step in that direction. And we will be using it differently.
It's really
as
dire.
well.
We have ample scientific evidence today that we are at nothing less than a planetary emergency. We have a global climate crisis, but we also have a global ecological crisis. And the ecological crisis undermines the resilience of the whole planet, which means that when we continue to emit greenhouse gases, burning fossil fuels, and degrading ecosystems, we are coming very close to tipping points, which would lead to irreversible changes that would commit all future generations to a planet that would drift off irreversibly towards a lesser and lesser state to support human livelihoods. So all in all, we are today at a point of existential challenge. And this is now well established scientifically through the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 6 report that concludes 1.1 degrees Celsius warming, the point we reached now through fossil fuel burning and land use change, is the warmest temperature on Earth for the last 100,000 years, which means that we have crashed through the ceiling of the warmest global mean temperature on Earth since we left the last ice age, which means since we started developing civilizations as we know it. So fundamentally, we can say that the state of the planet that has supported what we cherish as a modern world today is surpassed in terms of the capacity of the Earth system to sustain that pressure.
We have been confronting challenges since before we've been writing history, and we have always found the faith to rise above them. One of the few areas where things have not been improving, of course, is the natural world. My own love of nature started early. As a boy, I spent summers with my grandparents on their ranch in South Texas. In 2021, I had my own opportunity to go to space and look back at Earth. When I landed back on the Texas soil, I returned with a renewed commitment to help protect the natural world in the here and now. I went with Lauren and a team from the Bezos Earth Fund to Glasgow for COP26 and pledged $3 billion for nature. $1 billion to protect what we still have, $1 billion to restore what we've lost, and $1 billion to help transform food systems. We are going to go forwards and invent our way out. We will have a better natural world and the modern society that we all enjoy. When the crew of Apollo 8 was circling the moon, the astronaut Jim Lovell looked back at Earth. "I'd been hoping to go to heaven when I die," he said. "Now I realize you go to heaven when you're born." Earth is paradise, and we must protect it.
Conversation about what ExxonMobil can do in this space, how we can take our capabilities, our core competitive advantages, and apply that in areas that will make significant reductions in emissions and doing it in an affordable way. We're demonstrating that today with what's happened in the U.S. with the IRA. We're growing a low-carbon solutions business. We have contracts with 3 different companies, an ammonia producer, an industrial gas producer, and a steel producer, to capture their emissions and sequester that emissions. That's 5 million tons per annum of emissions we'll reduce. Just to give you a sense for the size of that, that's the equivalent of replacing 2 million cars with EVs. That's all.
About some expensive, politically correct green act of bunny hugging or blah blah blah. Build back better, blah blah blah. Green economy, blah blah blah. Net zero by 2050, blah blah blah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I hope
Good
you guys
presentation.
liked it. Yeah, I showed the juxtaposition between the the fund and the big oil. It's obvious Exxon's getting a lot of tax money from the what is the IRA, and well, it's very interesting. I hope you guys liked it and got something out of it. But we're moving on. Now, Jennifer, did you want me to read this one and you're going to take on the last 2 and really get into it?
Okay.
I
can do it all if you wish.
Oh, well, this one is actually what?
You want to go? You want to do this one?
Yeah, because
you
this
do
is a
this
quick one, and then you got the floor. Jen's got the floor. Climate tipping points are nearer than you think. Our new report warns of the catastrophic risk. Basically, this is an article about what we were just talking about, the global the global tipping point report. This one. So, and this is the warmest year ever recorded that we've, since we've been recording. And multiple temperature records were smashed. And we did see that, Jennifer, right? Didn't we get to 2? We got to 2 on one day. So I'm not actually going to read this whole thing, but they're talking about the 200 scientists from around the world. They just published the new report, which we talked about, and it came out for COP28 in Dubai. Their report sets out the science on the negative tipping points in the Earth system that can harm both nature and people, as well as the potential. And we've already covered this in the show, but this is in phys.org, talking about tipping points in the air, land, and sea, having scoured scientific evidence of past and current changes and factored in projections from computer models. We have identified 24, more than 25 tipping points in the Earth system. So this ought to be interesting to dig into, and perhaps on a part 2, Jen, we'll dig into some of this on another Sunday night. So, goodbye. As we saw, they're saying that we could tip into something much worse. It makes it clear that climate change is a key driver for most of these tipping points, and the risk of crossing them can be reduced by urgently cutting greenhouse gas emissions to zero, which positive tipping points could accelerate. To help prevent tipping points in the biosphere, we'll need to rapidly reduce habitat loss and pollution while supporting ecological restoration and sustainable livelihoods. I guess they're going to be busy. These people are going to be busy, Jen. So that's basically on the tipping points, but we are going to move over, and we are moving over to this one, another one for Fizz. So you take it away, Jen, because this is a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
And guys, this whole thing about, so we're going to learn about creeping methane hydrates. It's kind of like a horror story. It's like The Blob, but it's methane clathrate deposits creeping along the ocean bottom. So
yeah, it's not even
melting.
funny.
No, it's kind of
No.
gross.
Yeah.
Kind of scary. Melting fire ice. Study finds climate change can cause methane to be released from the deep ocean. New research has shown that fire ice, frozen methane, which is trapped as solid under our oceans, is vulnerable to melting due to climate change and could be released into the sea. An international team of researchers led by Newcastle University found that as frozen methane and ice melts, methane, potent greenhouse gas, is released and moves from the deepest part of the continental slope to the edge of the underwater shelf. They even discovered a pocket that had moved 25 miles.
Ooh.
So think of it, guys. That's a deposit of methane clathrate that crept along 25 miles and moved closer to the surface, actually. Published in the Journal of Nature Geoscience, the researchers say this means that more methane could potentially be vulnerable and released into the atmosphere as a result of climate warming. Methane hydrate. Methane hydrate, known as fire ice, is an ice-like structure found buried in the ocean floor that contains methane. Vast amounts of methane are stored as marine methane under oceans. It thaws when the oceans warm, releasing methane into the oceans and atmosphere, known as dissociated methane, contributing to global warming. The scientists use advanced three-dimensional seismic imaging techniques to examine the portion of hydrate that dissociated during climatic warming off the coast of Mauritania in northwest Africa. They identified a specific case where dissociated methane migrated over 40 kilometers. That's like crazy, right? 40 kilometers. That's like really far. And was released through a field of underwater depressions known as pockmarks during past warm periods. Lead author, Professor Richard Davies, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Global and Sustainability, Newcastle University, said it was A COVID lockdown discovery, I revisited imaging of strata just under the modern sea floor offshore of Mauritania and pretty much stumbled over 23 pockmarks. I'd like to talk about that afterwards, these pockmarks.
Yeah.
Our work
Okay.
shows, because I've been thinking about them for a decade. Our work shows I have. Our work shows that they formed because methane released from hydrate from the deepest part of the continental slope vented into the ocean. Scientists had previously thought this hydrate was not vulnerable to climatic warming, but we have shown that some of it is. Researchers have previously studied how changes in bottom water temperature near continental margins can affect the release of methane from hydrates. However, these studies mainly focused on areas where only a small portion of global methane hydrate are located. This is one of only a small number that investigate the release of methane from the base of the hydrate stability zone, which is deeper underwater. The results show that methane released from hydrate stability zone traveled a significant distance toward land. It's coming. It's like the blob.
Yeah, you're
Holy
right. The
crap.
blob. I
Yeah.
don't have a blob sound, Jennifer.
That's all right. Professor Dr. Christian Berndt, head of the research unit Marine Geodynamics, also known as GeoMar, in Kiel, Germany, said, "This is an important discovery. So far, research efforts focused on the shallowest part of the hydrate stability zone because we thought that only this portion is sensitive to climatic variations. The new data clearly shows that far larger volumes of methane may be liberated from marine hydrate, and we really have to get to the bottom to understand better the role of hydrate in the climate system. Methane is the second most abundant anthropogenic greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide. Figures from the United States Environmental Protection Agency show that methane accounts for about 16% of global greenhouse gas emissions. The study results can play a key role in helping to predict and address the impact of methane on our changing climate. The team plan to continue to search for evidence of methane vents along the margin and try to predict where massive methane seeps are likely to occur as we warm the planet. The researchers are now planning a scientific cruise to drill into the pockmarks.
Well, that's what we need.
Go ahead, knock yourself out. See if they can more closely tie them to past climate warming events. So these pockmarks, right, they're all over the place. They are past methane hydrate explosions. You know, Sandy, how
Yes.
like you know those big explosions up in the whatever Yamal Peninsula or
Yes.
something up in Siberia.
Yep, we've covered
Well,
them.
those pockmarks in the ocean are the same thing. Whether it explodes above the water or below the water, it's still an explosion. It leaves a deep pockmark. And you can see these pockmarks from past methane emissions. And generally speaking, it goes something like this. First, the ice melts and the glaciers slide, and you see these deep groove marks, and that the groove marks in the ocean bottom are caused from the sliding glaciers. Then on top of those groove marks, you oftentimes can see these pockmarks, right? These
Ooh.
pockmarks can be up to half a kilometer wide.
Wow.
They can be very, very big, and you can see the sequence of events when they occur, because where there are groove marks, the pock marks are on top of it and they're fresher than the groove marks. So that kind of tells you the sequence of events, and the methane explosions don't really happen until after all the glaciers start sliding and a certain amount of warming takes place. So that's my little story about the pockmarks.
Yeah. Well,
Which
I
is pretty scary
appreciated it.
anyway.
It is,
Yeah.
but I sure appreciated you going over that. Absolutely. Well, now we've
Mhm.
done the methane part, and we now
Mhm.
know the oceans are sloshing around with a little bit of methane here and there.
Mhm.
But we are now moving on to our good friend Sam Carana, whoever they may be. And
Mhm.
Jennifer,
Or
take away.
Samantha Carana could
Yes, it
be
could be.
gender
Could be.
bending.
Could absolutely could be. Anyway, this is will temperatures keep rising fast? All right.
Mhm. Mhm. So this one is chock full of graphs. So it'll be interesting. Sam Carana does produce some of the best graphs.
See if I can
The
make it
above
bigger.
image, created with Climate Reanalyzer data, shows the temperature anomaly in centigrade compared to the 1979 to 2000 mean. The blue area are the years 1979 to 2022, and the black and white is the year 2023 through December 3rd, 2023, current year. A trend is added in pink and white based on 2023 data. Notice that the 1979 to 2000 mean isn't pre-industrial. The anomaly from pre-industrial is significantly higher.
Oops.
The trend warns that the temperature could keep rising rapidly over the next few months. Number of things can contribute to this rapid rise. Number one, the chance that the current El Nino will slow down over the next few months is minimal. And number two, Earth's radiation imbalance is very high. So both of those things are kind of on a runaway. Sam Carana always gets into the exponential rise. We'll
Mhm.
see if it happens as he thinks it will, he, she.
And also, this is a good distillation of other articles also because people have been talking about the radiation imbalance, and then others have been talking about the El Nino. So this is pretty cool because it's in one place.
Mhm.
Do you want me to make
Yeah.
this bigger? And see what this.
I am actually not looking at you. Let me see what you're showing. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Maybe I should just stick with you. So this official NOAA probabilities, so we've got La Nina, neutral, and El Nino. And I am actually not entirely sure how to interpret this graph.
I know I like when we do this together and figure it out, but there's a percent chance. So, but a percent chance of what? The seasonal change. Yeah, we're in El Nino now. Well,
November,
let's go.
December. Oh, I've got it.
Oops.
I've got it. Oops.
You got it?
I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, oops. I've got it.
Get it.
So it is. This is actually months, right?
Yeah.
This is the October, November, December, the November, December, January.
Oh,
If you
here
look
we are.
along the bottom, the December, January, February, the January, February, March. So it's kind of a 3-month probability. And so what they are saying is time goes on, there is a possibility that El Nino will be ending and La Nina or neutral state will be kind of moving in, and La Nina is not yet in evidence at all. So it just basically says that possibly by the May, June, July of next year, 2024, we could be into a neutral state
All right.
and see the end of La Nina.
All right. All right. Cool.
Or El Nino. Sorry, El Nino.
Right. El Nino, La Nina,
Blah, 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 blah.
Just flip a coin. All right.
Right.
Now.
I am
Where are we?
waiting for you to flick.
Okay, where would you like to go now on this? Do you want to
Well,
talk about this one or
yeah,
read
yeah,
this?
but you have to make it bigger.
I'm
You have to
gonna
make
make
it bigger. Oh, not that much bigger.
No, I can't make it much
Going
bigger.
over to mine. Okay, so
It's-
this is the Earth's radiation balance between the last 23 years, 2000 to 2023. And this is the cumulative planetary heat content anomaly of Earth. Well, it's pretty obvious. Things are going up, things continue to go up, and the declination has increased starting at around 2010. So the declination or the steepness of the graph from 2000 to 2010 was pretty slight. And then around 2010, it actually ticked up, and that actually causes a curve in the line itself. So you can see that the planetary heat content anomaly continues to go up. That's really it, net.
Yeah.
And then the curvy line is just the seasonal change, and the red line is the average 12-month running average. So there you go.
Beautiful. Very well. And now I know what I was looking at. Much better. All right. Take over. About the Antarctic sea ice. Do you know where we are?
All right.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
There we go.
All right. So the Antarctic sea ice extent. The Antarctic sea extent is at a record low for this time of year, as illustrated in this image below, which you will see. And the fall in extent is particularly steep in December. So sea ice loss results in less sunlight getting reflected back into space, aka albedo, right?
Yep.
Takes over, and instead of getting absorbed into the ocean, the impact on Antarctic sea ice loss is even stronger than Arctic sea ice losses. Antarctic sea ice is located closer to the equator, as pointed out by Paul Beckwith in a video in an earlier post.
Yay, Paul.
Yay, Paul. We love you. A warmer Southern Ocean also comes with fewer bright clouds and further reducing albedo. And for decades, there were many lower clouds over the Southern Ocean, reflecting the sunlight back into space. But these lower clouds have been decreasing over time, further speeding up the amount of sunlight getting absorbed into the water in the Southern Ocean. And this is the pattern effect, and it could make a huge difference globally, as this study points out.
Wow.
So
now,
anyway,
do you want me to click on the study or just the graph?
No, that's fine.
Ooh, got bigger there.
There you go.
All right. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. So you can see that this really covers a 6-month time frame from September to March. And the most important thing to see here, really, if you're wondering what is all of this about, is that 2023 is the dark blue line. It almost looks black. I think it's blue.
Right on the
And
bottom.
it's lower. It's significantly lower. 2023 is not like the other years. And especially in the Antarctic, 2023 is significantly off the mark. Right. And so what he's saying here is there's a huge danger that ocean heat will reach and destabilize methane hydrate that are contained in sediments in the seafloor of the oceans, and this will result in massive methane eruptions, as discussed in many earlier posts. Also, the emissions are high and rising. In December 2023, carbon dioxide was at 420 ppm at Mauna Loa. Today's greenhouse gas forcing of 4.6 W per meter squared, I guess, is relative to the mid-Holocene CO2 of 260 ppm.
Wow.
So equilibrium in global warming for today's amount of greenhouse gases is 10 C. Holy
Well, when you
shit.
think of the cumulative, and I've seen others also, and James Hansen, that's his, that I think he's the one that has mentioned the same issue, equilibrium.
It's going to get hot. Warming in the past 6,000 years was slowed down by aerosol cooling, and that could have been caused by volcanoes, I guess, right?
Oh,
Growing
and everything we've put in, the crap that was going up in the air from cargo ships that Leon talks about all the time. Yeah, a lot of things. The aerosol.
Yeah. So also growing population, agriculture and land clearance produced aerosols and CO2. Wood was the main fuel for cooking and heating. Of course, wood has a lot of high particulates,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
does.
Nonlinear aerosol forcing is largest in a pristine atmosphere. Impacts on people and nature will accelerate as global warming increases hydrologic extremes, and the enormity of consequences demands a return to Holocene level global temperature. Well, good luck with that.
Oh,
But yes.
that was from James. Look, that was from James Hansen. That was his piece. So this
Yeah.
is Mauna
And this,
Loa.
right, and look at the excuse me, and now I'm dry. Hang on.
Yeah.
So check this out,
Okay.
guys. This is the last 10,000 years. And the climate has been remarkably rock solid stable. And then look at the last 100 years or so. Boom. Just goes straight up. And this is CO2, carbon dioxide.
Yep.
And it's going straight up, and it doesn't show any sign of variation in this trend at this point. You can see how quickly it's going up. So,
Yeah.
actually, CO2's never really risen, in my knowledge anyway, this quickly in such a short period of time.
We are living through and witnessing
Yes,
things
indeed.
I never thought. Nope.
Yep. And this just shows us this is methane in, well, and you can see it's very high in the northern, the more north you go. It's kind of collected here at the top of the earth.
It looks nasty. It does.
No.
Yeah. The
Yeah, I
the way
mean,
it's
it
away.
is.
Yeah. Cams. This is from Cams. Created from
Yeah.
Cams. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, let me see what you're looking at here. Okay. So you can see here, meanwhile, as emissions keep rising, politicians refuse to act, preferring to debate the size of the carbon budget.
Right on.
Good use of your time, Betty. Sadly, the IPCC lends credibility to the idea that there was a budget to be divided among the polluters and a budget that would enable polluters to keep polluting for decades to come. This adds a false sense of accountability to this budget, as if it was checked and verified by scientists across the world. Instead, there is just a huge carbon debt that has to be removed from the atmosphere and oceans. And I don't really know how they're going to do it, because carbon dioxide reclamation doesn't really work.
There's a lot of companies talking about just that. And that's what Exxon was talking about in the Intermission film I made, how they are invested in carbon capture. And I don't know either. I don't. Okay.
Oh yes, and then this cheerful thing here. This shows how much the temperature can rise according to Sam Krana, and it's really just
Yeah,
doing
it's
the
a
math.
can thing.
It's an additional thing. So what he is saying here is that since pre-industrial, we have already risen 2.29 degrees. That's what he's saying. So we're there.
Right.
So you can kind of start right above 2.29. And then he thinks, all these different bits are going to happen, and they very well may. The most interesting thing about this graph, though, is the cloud feedback, and that's the gray of 8 degrees C at the top. What does this mean? What this means is after Earth gets to a certain temperature, clouds will not form. If clouds do not form,
we're not in the best of shape.
We don't have shade. Clouds provide a lot of shade, and they also reflect light back. And if you have a planet with no clouds, then you're just going to bake.
Yes.
And that's what this is all about.
So get out your suntan lotion.
Oh boy. Go live in a cave. Don't come out.
Oh, God.
That actually might work.
We have enough
So
caves, Jennifer. They'll be digging caves.
Yeah.
Well, the preppers do that now. They go underground. Yes, they do, right? All
Yeah.
right. Where do you want to go from here?
We're done.
All right. We're done with this part. We are coming back to you for our discussion. All right. I enjoyed that, Jen.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, there was a lot there. There's a lot there. We went over quite a bit. Let's see what you guys are talking about. I saved a couple of things. I don't. Oh, I got a super chat. We'll do that first. Dog dude. All he said was $5. Thank you, dog dude. That really does help, man. It does. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Now I have some starred ones, Jen. We can go through a couple of them. Let's see. Scott, save the planet. Invent a time machine. Boom, boom. That was a good one, Scott. Yeah,
Good.
that's why I
Very
saved
good.
that one. We need a little comic relief at the end of serious
We do. This is heavy shit.
Yeah. All right. And Tommyist, how many tipping points have already been triggered? Oh, 35. No, see, I'm in one of those moods, being sarcastic. But the one thing we saw, Jennifer, was identified 25 definite tipping points, but not telling us how many have been tripped. It was just what? 5 tipping points. And go ahead.
The Greenland ice sheet is a very big tipping point. That's already giving way. You know, it's debatable whether the Greenland ice sheet tipping point has been crossed. And of course, that is a pretty important tipping point, right? Because
that's
if
a huge
you
tipping
lose your-
point.
well, what's it going to cause, right?
Sea level
It's gonna
rise. Lots of
Yeah.
problems.
The sea level rise is actually not the big thing with the Greenland ice sheet. That's actually a very small thing with the Greenland ice sheet, even though it's 28 feet of sea level rise wrapped up in Greenland. The big thing is the stop of the of the AMOC. If the Greenland ice
yeah.
sheet gives way, the AMOC stops. It's already slowing, and if the AMOC stops, thank you, Jim Massa, for being with us. I hope you're still with us.
Yeah, Jim.
You know, the
Shout out.
stratification of the ocean, you know, and basically you won't get any more ocean circulation or ocean mixing.
No.
Greenland has the potential to stop all of that in very quickly, and it's already kind of slowing down. So, you know, that's a big one. And then Antarctica is the other big one, the Antarctic sea ice, and also the Antarctic ice sheet. So
The
both of those are
Amazon.
huge tipping points. Of course, the Amazon, you know, on and on. And I haven't really kept track of the tipping points. Some people were kind of
No, but-
collecting them like playing cards.
But we have our that one slide that I showed. We can do a show on every circle on that slide. So that's
Oh, yeah.
good. Yeah, I'm going to put that up in the community part of the page of the YouTube. You can all see. It'll be like our blueprint. All right, I have another super chat, and that is Kristen Rose, your sweetheart. She's blowing the party horn, but for some reason it doesn't come up. And Dwayne, thank you. Dwayne's our guest. Oh, for the kitties and other critters we love. Dwayne Custer is our guest Tuesday night. So guys, come back because Dwayne is interesting as hell. And we have a lot to talk about. And I think you guys will definitely enjoy this. Let's see. Soul Life, what did you say? I just saw something today that showed how we'll have a bunch of chemicals in the air because of satellites. Oh, you mean the decomposing satellites? When that's interesting, Jen.
I don't know
So
about that.
satellites do what happens to the parts that don't work anymore? Do they disintegrate? Are they PFAF? Will they float to the earth? Thanks,
Yeah.
Soul Life. That's a topic we've not thought about, so there must be
Nope.
something out.
Haven't thought about it.
No. Thomas, at 2 degrees Celsius, permafrost thaw will produce the same emissions per year as the entire EU produces in a year.
And that is a runaway feedback. And once that tipping point, once the permafrost degradation, which is already underway, once that thaw happens, and there's no really stopping it, because it's just kind of, the whole thing is going to cave and emissions will come out, and that will make it hotter, which will cause more of it to thaw. There you
Lovely.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Okay, let's see. What are you saying, Lightning Rod? Thunder Bay 2C over since 212. How do you know?
Well, it could be. It could be because
Yeah.
why could Lightning Rod be right? And I suspect that he
Canada.
is.
Yeah.
Because the higher you go up, the faster the warming becomes, and it very well could be 2C above.
Jennifer, that's brilliant.
Of course.
Yes.
Oh no, everybody knows that.
Brilliant.
Everybody
Well,
knows
I am, then I'm not on the same wavelength tonight. I think I'm more on the technical. I'm on the social wavelength here with the comments.
Well, keep in mind that the
Yes.
Arctic is warming about 4 times as fast as anywhere else,
Yeah.
right? And the higher you go up in latitude, the quicker the warming is happening.
He's in Thunder Bay
And
in
that's
Canada, which is
probably
definitely
2C
higher.
above
Yeah.
already.
All right. This is good. I like that. I really do.
Yeah.
I do. Okay, guys, let's see, where else are we? It is literally raining microplastics now, y'all. Thomas, you're
Yeah,
going
it's
back
true.
to the satellite. And wait. Tim Bob, can we admit cats are little psychopaths? That's funny because of course we are, we're the cat ladies. Yeah, where's the cat sound when I need it? It's somewhere.
I can make it. I can
Yeah,
make
you're
it if you
making
can't find it.
All right, do it. The cat sounds. Thank you, Tim Bob, for enlightening us. Yes, Gary. It's Thunder Bay, Canada. Right,
Yeah,
right.
there you go.
All right. Let's see. Anybody else that has anything interesting? The second Bush administration killed methane satellite technology in 2001. All right, John. The second Bush administration killed. So we had satellites that could show methane, and they took funding away, and we could not go and develop anything more to see. That's what I'm figuring on this comment.
Yes, but in Boulder, Colorado,
In Boulder,
as we found out tonight, guys, they've got all sorts of gadgets in Boulder,
In
Colorado,
Boulder.
to study methane.
All right, Gary. Gary's talking to Gary. My guess is that life will only be possible almost entirely underground soon for humans in most places. And soon is not prognosticating because we don't know. Soon could be sooner, later sooner. So we don't know. We really don't. But all right, guys. Well, we have been an hour and 40 minutes. It's been a great night. I've enjoyed this show. I enjoyed working on it. And let's just see if this. Yes.
Thank you for putting together a great show. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for coming here tonight, sharing with us.
Yes. And all of you, Tim, Lightning Rod, Scott, John, Matt. We love you, Matt. And I don't know why you made this comment, Kim, but I'm going to put it up. Something about your toilet. That's an apt way. All right, guys. I will see you Tuesday night with Dwayne. And thank you, Jennifer. Very, very enjoyable.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good night, folks. Good night. Okay, Kim.